Good evening, everybody. Joel here again with an evening devotion for you. Verse tonight is Psalm 51:14. This is a psalm of David, and it's supposedly right after or sometime after the death of Uriah, the husband of Bathsheba, who David eventually married. Deliver me from blood guiltiness, O God, thou God of my salvation, and my tongue shall sing aloud of thy righteousness. And the commentary by Spurgeon here. In this solemn confession, it is pleasing to observe that David plainly names his sin. He does not call it manslaughter, nor speak of it as an imprudence by which an unfortunate accident occurred to a worthy man, but he calls it by its true name, blood guiltiness. He did not actually kill the husband of Bathsheba, but still it was planned in David's heart that Uriah should be slain. And he was, before the Lord, his murderer. Learn in confession and to be honest with God. Do not give fair names to foul sins. Call them what you will, they will smell no sweeter. What God sees them to be, that do you labor to feel them to be, and with all openness of heart acknowledge their real character. Observe that David was evidently oppressed with the heinousness of his sin. It is easy to use words, but it is difficult to feel their meaning. The 51st Psalm is the photograph of a contrite spirit. Let us seek after the like brokenness of heart. For however excellent our words may be, if our heart is not conscious of the hell-deservingness of sin, we cannot expect to find forgiveness. Our text has in it an earnest prayer. It is addressed to the God of salvation. It is his prerogative to forgive. It is his very name and office to save those who seek his face. Better still, the text calls him the God of my salvation. Yes, blessed be his name. While I am yet going to him through Jesus' blood, I can rejoice in the God of my salvation. The psalmist ends with a commendable vow. If God will deliver him, he will sing. Nay, more, he will sing aloud. Who can sing in any other style of such a mercy as this? But note the subject of the song, thy righteousness. We must sing of the finished work of a precious Savior, and he who knows most of forgiving love will sing the loudest. David was definitely guilty of a very heinous crime. His hands did not kill Uriah. He did not kill him with his own hands, with his own weapons. But he sent Uriah to die in battle and told his officers to fall back when the fighting was the thickest, specifically so that Uriah would be killed. Because if a woman's husband dies, then you can marry her and it's no longer adultery. Right? Except now you're kind of a murderer, and in God's eyes, you are definitely a murderer. And David was punished severely for that. David, who was called a righteous man, was in God's eyes guilty of murder. So he cried out to God, deliver me from blood guiltiness. He was guilty in his heart. The blood of Uriah was causing him to feel guilt at his own sin. And he named it what it was, or at least in this translation, blood guiltiness. I'm not sure what it says in other translations. I'd have to go look it up. But I think that's an excellent word, and Spurgeon kind of agrees. It wasn't that he was guilty of manslaughter, accidental killing of someone. He was, the blood of Uriah was on his hands and on his heart. And he cried out to God for forgiveness, for salvation, and says that he would sing aloud if he was forgiven. And we need to take that into consideration as well, the naming of the sins. There are so many new names for old sins that come about these days. And I won't go into them too graphically because I have children that are going to be watching this. But suffice it to say that old sins now have new names to soften the blow. Some even have acronyms. But they are the oldest sins in the world. And by any other name, they still smell just as foul as they did when first they were invented. Whether that be murder or fornication or adultery or anything else. By any other name, they are still sins. Just because you call them something different does not make it any less of a sin. And we need salvation. The world needs salvation. This country needs salvation, needs to cry out to God for salvation from the sins that this entire nation has committed on a mass scale, the scale of which would put Sodom and Gomorrah to shame. It's no wonder we have been saddled with the leaders that we have over these last many years. The sins of the nation are punished by the Lord giving them bad leaders or evil leaders, which then leads them more into depravity and debasement. I hope and I pray that this nation is on its way out of this cycle of depravity. But it's going to be a long road. It was a long road getting here, and it's going to be a long road back. So in the meantime, all I can say is, inasmuch as me and my house are concerned, we will serve the Lord. And I hope you can say that as well. And I hope that you can find salvation for whatever sins that you have committed. And remember, just as he was a murderer in God's eyes, because he recognized his sin, he asked for forgiveness, and he turned from his wicked ways, fulfilled his vows, God called him a righteous man in the book of Hebrews. Maybe I'll go over that sometime. Hebrews is a good book to go through. One of these days I'll go through that. But he was called a righteous man because he sought God's heart. He sought God's face. And even though he sinned, he was called righteous, even though he lived long before the time of Christ. But because he was seeking God's face, God called him righteous. And I hope he can call you righteous as well. You all have a wonderful evening. Good night.